Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today, and welcome to today's webinar from our Build Your Career webinar series. Today's topic is productivity killers and how to kill them with Elsa Velasco-Paul. My name is Scott Levine, and I'm the membership manager here at the IEEE Computer Society. Each month, we host a webinar on vital business skills that will help you excel at your current job and be helpful at your next job and throughout your career. Topics will be on communication skills, verbal and written, body language, and interview tips, to name a few. Before we get started, I would like to address some housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded, and you can ask any questions in the Q&A box you see on your screen. Elsa will answer as many questions as she can following her presentation. If possible, please reference the slide your question refers to. A copy of the slides in this recorded webinar will be emailed to you tomorrow. As mentioned, joining us today is Elsa Velasco-Paul, co-founder and creator of the M&E Group, a marketing consulting firm based in Tulsa, Oklahoma since 1997. Also serves as the International Customer Experience Manager for the Crosby Group. Elsa also does corporate training, providing her expertise covering numerous topics, just such as the one you'll see today, as well as communication skills, solutions thinking, personal branding, and career mistakes, to name a few. Elsa, thank you for being here today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Scott, and welcome, everybody. It's wonderful, and it's always a pleasure to be here with everybody. And yes, let's talk about productivity. Productivity, number one, is not an accident. Productivity in reality is a concerted effort. It's a result of discipline, and it's something that when you do it right, it really, really pays off. In studies by the Queen's School of Business and also by Gallup, the Gallup organization, disengaged workers, as a result, of course, of lack of productivity, have a 37% higher absenteeism, 49% more accidents, and have 60% more errors and defects. In organizations, the same ones that they polled that have low employee engagement scores, they also found out that they have 18% lower productivity, and that is directly tied. 16% lower profitability, and 37% lower job growth overall. That ended up causing 65% lower share price over time. Importantly, businesses that have highly engaged employees on the opposite side, of course, they have 100% more job applications because these things show. So the key thing about productivity is that, number one, it's intentional. It's not an accident, in that there is money and results tied to it. If you go into Career Builder, for example, you're going to find out, I think on the Prime page, that they recently surveyed, I think, over 2,000 or 3,000 hiring managers, and they identified the most significant office productivity killers. And the results include everything in there. And they were going from, from office coworkers, from pets, animals, from anything, you name it, from phones. And they went from the mythical, that trying to get that inbox to zero, to that coworker that comes and continuously tries to drop by or just pick your brain. There's a ton of stuff, and we're going to talk about every single one of them, but not in the way that you're used to. We're going to go to the bottom of it and then help you figure out how you can fix it, tailored to your own needs. But hold it. Before you go any further, I try to always be very grateful and recognize the ones that get us here. And of course, we want to be very, very grateful and honor the IEEE Computer Society and the people that have made it possible. Thank you so much to the brilliant folks behind the screens. And that is, you've heard it, Scott. Thank you, Carrie, Michelle, I heard you're back, so that's awesome. And thank you, Eric, of course, for making all this wonderful partnership possible. If any of you are thinking about your membership, there's more of this and a lot of more fun things coming through, and it's going to be possible if you are part of the IEEE Computer Society. So if you need to think about renewing your membership, hey, this is my plug. You should do it, and you should do it very, very soon. Of course, we also want to thank our team. And behind the scenes, we have the wonderful Mike, who is going to take care of all your questions behind the scene. Don't worry. If I am not able to take care of your questions while we're here, you know where you can find me? On LinkedIn. I think I live probably 20 hours of my day on LinkedIn. And the reason is because I love to connect with all my friends. And I suspect I'm going to end up by today with a couple of more new friends. So make sure that you connect with us today. Now, let's get a little bit more serious and get some things out of the way. Or maybe not. As you can see, this is our famous disclaimer. And you know what this is? This is our humorous attempt to just let you know that if you do have any questions or if you need to borrow some of the material here, call us, contact us so that we can help you and facilitate the sharing of this information. We are always excited to make new partnerships or to even work with you to make sure that we're doing this the right way. So make sure you connect, and we're always happy to help you with your next presentation. As usual, our goal is to help you succeed in, yes, we love partnering with the new friends. But like we said in the beginning, I love finding out who's here. Scott, is this a good time for us to find out who we have in the room?
Yes.
Great. So what you see here is the poll. And when I find out, I want to know, what stage are you in your career? If you're a student, click on there. If you're a PhD candidate, great job. Keep on going. Click on that one. If you just started your job, good for you. Click on that one. For my team leads and supervisors, you are the ones that are making it happen, and I'm recognizing you. My managers, thank you. And my directors and my C-suites, thank you so much for being here. And I really love it because that is the positions that really are going to benefit so much from this and bringing it down to the rest of the troops. And my retired folks, you're probably going to laugh at all these because it's going to resonate so much. And for my others, I'm not just putting you all in the same group, but half of my family is academia. So this is where I wanted to make sure that I was also recognizing you. Click on this one and let me know. Where are you? Awesome. This is awesome. Okay, great. So we can see we have a lot of team leads. Beautiful. And we have, other. Okay, hang on. The plot thickens, Scott. The plot thickens. On the chat or on the Q&A, I need to find out who's other. If you are part of that other, you just piqued my interest. I need to know, what are you? Are you academia? What are you doing? Because I need to find out. While we do that, I'm going to, for the sake of interest, I'm going to keep it going. But if you don't mind, Mike, would you let me know what is other? I am really interested. Let's transition. Scott, I'm going to borrow your screen. Is that okay?
Of course.
Hang on. There we go. Can everybody see it?
Yes, we can see awesome. It now.
Perfect. As we were saying, productivity really is an intentional act. And we're going to talk later that it's an intentional act that is actually a little bit, when we talk about these disconnections, it really is an intentional act that has a lot of discipline behind it. It's also fragile, incredibly fragile. And I say that because once derailed, it's very, very hard to get back on track. Let me explain. It takes us 25 minutes to get back on track, which means every time that you have a distraction on one single act that you're doing, it's going to take you 25 minutes to get back to that email that you were writing. Example. It's going to equate for a standard day within a couple of quick questions drop in, the coworker saying, how you doing? Or just saying, dropping by, or dropping a piece of paper on your desk, something that simple. A couple of questions from your boss, somebody burning popcorn over there in the microwave, a quick speakerphone call that you just picked up, somebody just walking by, you even scrolling that notification that pops up on your phone. Those tiny, tiny little things, they all add up to at least 2 to 3 hours of your day, which means that every single time that happened, it's seeping time from you for you to get back to whatever it was that you're doing. That's the best reason why we need to manage our time and not let things get out of hand. Productivity is key, because if not, life ends up happening to us. And that's the proverbial, you went to work and you don't know what happened with your time. And you know what? Even small changes really matter and make a difference. Productivity is also going to be a means to an end and not the end in itself. And I mean it because we can get so focused on the checklist or on the system, on the Pomodoro, on, whatever scheduling system we have, that we lose focus that those are the tools. They are not the means. So be very careful not to get carried away with that, or with the software that is meant to help you, not to tie you down and make you the slave. You know what? Because in the end, we can look very, very busy doing very inefficient things. The key here is that busyness is not the same as being productive. There's a huge, huge difference between being busy and being productive. You can be busy all day and still feel like you're behind on accomplishing your goals. Let me give you an example. Have you ever been at work all day, even gotten there super early, left really, really late, and still feel like you haven't done a single thing? You look at the list of the urgent things to do and you didn't do anything. That was an unproductive day, but you're still exhausted, right? I like to think of being productive think of it as moving a ball, and imagine, an imaginary ball, and you're moving it a few inches every time closer to a goal, to a finish line. Boom. That's exactly what it looks like to be action-oriented, results-driven. It doesn't look perfect. It doesn't look very snazzy, but that is what it should be. Think of the same scenario, but this time let's change it around and let's be a busy person, right? Well, what does a busy person look every day? All right, the busy person is the one doing, quote unquote, research, or trying to learn all the different ways of doing it, all the possibilities, creating long to-do lists, trying to make it happen. The person that takes a lot of days in making teams and trying to be overthinkers, and they have an incredible ability to spend and do a lot of tasks, take a lot of time. And the busy person would, for example, start to do a blog or start to do a project, and they would take them 3 times more than it would take them for a productive person. And probably they would be complaining of how long it takes them to do something. Busy people, and I'm not piling on them, I'm just giving you an example. Busy people tend to be great at, quote unquote, looking busy. I'm not saying looking productive. They just look busy. They're the ones that everybody says, you can't bring them into this project because they're so busy. Nobody's saying they're so productive. A productive person is simply the one that gets it done. You don't hear anybody talking about them because they're busy doing what they should be doing. A productive person's, for example, their list of to-do things, you're never going to find something like, call Elsa about the reports. You know why? Because the productive person is actually working on the reports with Samantha, with Elsa, with John, with whomever. That's the difference. They don't waste time. They don't look on what's the ancillary. They look for the ways to get it done and get it done the right way. Being productive is at the core of what every high-level achiever needs to do to be on the game. And you don't have to be famous. It's what you should be because you are a high-level achiever. Now, the question that everybody has been asking me, for those of you that connected on LinkedIn with me, everybody wants to know what are the top productivity killers. Before we go there, I want to see if you can tell me what you think are the top, let's do the top 5. What do you think are the top 5 productivity killers right now? Because I do have, as of 2021, according to Career Builder, the top 5 productivity killers. On chat, can you type and let us know what you guys think? And you can just say number 1, number 2, number 3. Let's see. And Mike, if you can give me a thumbs up and let me know when we have some answers, that would be wonderful.
Hey, also, while they're typing that in, on your screen, there is a small box at the bottom, like on sharing your screen. I don't want that to cover up your slides as you get further in.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you.
Interruptions. Lack of information.
Oh, wow. Very good. Interruptions, lack of information.
Instant messaging.
Oh, yes.
Email, social media.
I like it. I like where this is going.
Internet browsing.
Ooh, okay. Okay, some of you guys were totally in my email. Okay, this is getting creepy. Okay.
TV.
Oh, I love the TV part. Yes, yes. Okay, you guys, yeah, we're going to be great friends. Yeah, memes. Oh, wait a minute. Come on, don't mess with my memes. All right, let's do number 1. Number 5 is snack smoke breaks. Not that I'm pointing fingers at anybody, but you really do not need 6 cups of coffee in a day. Number 4 is going to be social media. Ooh, yeah, social media, you do not need to be updating your Facebook, your Instagram, or even your LinkedIn 7 times a day. I don't think that's necessary. Number 3 is, ouch, internet surfing. And that means even for work. Yes, that still counts as internet surfing. I'm not even going to address the fact that you're at work and you are still looking at stuff that is not related to work during work time. Number 3 is gossip. Nobody gossips. That is so unprofessional and so beneath all of us. So I'm going to skip over that one. That is so beneath us. No way. Cell phones and texting? What? Yes, my friends. You know what? Researchers have actually found that people get legitimately anxious if they are away from their phones for too long. So in reality, I'm not surprised that this one, it tops the list. So what's really killing our productivity? Well, before we get too high and mighty, I don't want you to place all the blame on gadgets. Coworkers, you and me included, we're just as responsible as technology for all the distractions. When we asked on the other side of the spectrum, workplace disruptions and what's ruining productivity, and we asked employers, right? We said, all of these things are happening. What are you doing to fix this or to address it? 73% of employers said, yes, we're doing something to address it. I just don't think it was very good. Let's see what they were saying. 36% were saying they're blocking certain internet sites. All right. 25% said we prohibit personal use of phones and email during certain hours. All right. 22% monitor emails and internet usage. And what's very, very interesting is that most of them do not tell their employees that they're doing that. 12% just limit meetings, and they can be limiting them in days that meetings are not permitted or in the time and the frequency that they can happen. And 11%, they just think that by restricting the use of speakerphones in open spaces, these things can be fixed. Well, maybe so, maybe not. But let's start to dive into what we think, or how we categorize what we think these productivity killers are. I'm not going to give you a list. I'm going to show you how we divided them, and we said 3 main things: by systems, by the environment, and personally. Let's talk about the first one, systems. What does this systems category means? Well, systems refers to the group of interacting or interrelated elements that they're going to act according to the set of rules that support your role within the organization. So, for example, think the meeting scheduling system that you have at work, the payroll system, Outlook or Jira, or your PTO form that you have, whatever system that you have for training. Wherever you have to put that in there. If you have any travel arrangement system, even how you record your credit card statements, things like that. The point is, systems are designed to be foundational for work. It's like the platform. When they're well designed and when they're well utilized, they are fantastic and they put you on roller skates. However, when Frankenstein, well, they're a nightmare. An absolute nightmare. An example, it's using meetings as a place to think things through, or using a calendar system that is so ridiculous and cumbersome that people just end up using an Excel sheet outside of it because nobody knows how to use it. It's a training request that nobody can even go into the system. Nobody does the training because the training system can't record KPIs or say if you passed or you didn't pass the system. All of these things are not chaotic enough or not outstanding enough. So they are small, they're undetected, but they're very, very frustrating. And the worst thing is that they're time-sucking tasks that you can't pinpoint, but you know how you feel. And somehow hours go by and you can't figure out, for example, why your team's mid-year reviews are still not finished and why you abhor even thinking about it. But hang on. Sometimes the environment around you also doubles up with you. And that's when I say, oh my goodness, that is a perfect storm. Things like, for example, when you don't have enough resources or the training is insufficient, and small recurrent but infrequent tasks. For example, if you have to once a month or once every 15 days, you have to go into the system to record something. You can't find where the password is or how to do it. You end up looking for 25 minutes. Nobody is available to help you. That is one of the productivity killers because you just wasted an hour and a half in a task that should be 10 minutes long. So what was this conversation about environmental? Employers and professionals are more aware than ever about the impact of environment and work habits on productivity. And that, I want to say, probably since 1990s, yeah. Whereas systems, that what we talked about before, mentions the resources, the platforms, the foundational part with, environmental is going to be on the top in those factors that focus on what's around us, everything that's around us when we're working. Think of this. How do you feel where you are when you're working? That first feeling. Does it feel comfortable, nice, flowing? Does it feel crammed? Does it feel cold? Does it feel rushed? That means that's what your environment is. It's that first image that comes to mind when you think about your job. Environmental is tied very, very closely to culture, and we're going to see later how this one, as well as systems, have less level of control. And that is a problem because that means that we really have to work around how much we leverage on our contribution and our influence so that we can change this and obviously impact and help us with our productivity. While we can take action against most problems affecting productivity, not all productivity killers are under your control. In most cases, though, even if you can't get rid of every productivity sapping issue that your team faces, there are some steps that we can take to minimize the negative impact. One that I always talk to when I talk to my clients is to be very, very aware of anything that has to be with distracting, noisy, or chaotic systems. Whenever we find ourselves that we are in an environment that is noisy and chaotic, is this because of the design of the space, or is this because of a cultural thing? Usually, especially if it's chaotic, it is tied to being hostile or fear-based. If that is the case, and it's not reprimanded, that is being celebrated. In my point of view, I think that that is a red flag, and I am not so sure that you want to be in a place like that. Being in an environment that is directionless or disorganized is not any better. That means that the top leadership is not invested enough to give you direction. Why would you want to be on a boat where the captain is not interested enough to tell you where you're going, especially if your paycheck is involved? I don't know. That's just my opinion. The third one is personal. And this is where, my friends, you and I have to buckle up and accept that most of the control and most of the responsibility, you guessed it, is ours. Personal productivity killers are linked to those elements where we have the most control. We're talking about deciding or not to procrastinate, or waiting for the quote-unquote perfect time to start the project. Or my favorite, if you consume a lot of self-help material, you know who you are. You know about Pomodoro, you know about Pareto and the 80-20, you know about the 4-day weekdays, you know everything. You know so much that you don't use a single one. Yeah, that's you. It can also happen the reverse. We can underestimate proven known methods, or we can overestimate focus time. Hang on, listen to this one. When we overestimate the amount of focus time, that basically means that for specific projects, we're going to need more than 15 minutes to focus ourselves and to get to a place where we're in the mood or in the mojo or in the flow. You will need at least 5 minutes before those 15 minutes to get there. So you will have to schedule at least 30 minutes where nobody is going to come knocking on your door just to say hi or to drop a piece of paper, or a phone call is not going to come by. How are you going to make that happen? You get my gist? These things have to be intentional. What surprises a lot of my clients to find out about the main culprit in this segment is actually that tiny word that I put over there at the end, at the bottom on the right side, standardizing. I'm going to give you a great example that we put together because he's fantastic. Jose is one of my favorite clients. He's a brilliant finance entrepreneur. And for the life of him, this man cannot, and I repeat, he cannot work in a quiet ambiance. You heard me right. He can't. He needs earbuds with music, with a podcast, with somebody talking every single time that he's working on something. He also needs something else, hear this out, playing on another screen. So he has two laptops, one where he's working and another one that's playing something. He doesn't even know what it's playing. It's just something that's scrolling all the time. Otherwise, you know what happens? He gets bored and he daydreams. This man is brilliant and he gets work done faster than anybody I know. But until we got to that place where we identified what was his trigger for him to be unproductive, things were not working. And it's because they thought that he had to do it the way that everybody else is doing. Let me flip the coin. We have somebody else, Christine, on the other end, cannot for the life of her multitask. And I'm dead serious. She lives and dies by a list that has to be done on the same order. And she thrives by day's end when she can go and tick them one by one and they're complete. And you guessed it, the day is done. She crumples it and she puts in the trash. That to her is how she knows that she gets things done. The point is, do not fall for the gimmick that one fix or one whole system is going to work for everybody. That is not true. It is absolutely false. Long-term creative projects, strategic thinking, skill relationship building, things like that, these things are going to require big, big blocks of concentrated attention. It's easy to think that you have all day, several hours for that type of work. No, it's really, really hard because you can have phone calls, you can have meetings, email, quick questions that somebody's gonna come up. It just happens. So make sure that you use something. I really like an app called Rescue Time. And what Rescue Time does, it takes that aggregated data from your day and tells you how much time is seeping through and where you can adapt those things. If you also have Outlook, you can use Cortana and you can use the same system because it actually aggregates and tells you these blocks of time is where you can add and block it out as focus time, as time to catch up on emails, and even to do learning time. It's pretty cool. And I used it. I use it much more than I used to do it before. Now, we've been talking a little bit, and I've been seeping it through about contribution and influence and systems. So by now you're probably peaked. Okay, let me explain what I'm talking about. If you do a search for productivity killers, you're probably gonna go miles on end, and you're gonna see this, oh my goodness, lists and lists and lists of things to do. But that is really, really hard a way for people to even figure out how do you do that, right? So you have two choices. You can either go ahead and become a collector of every single item that there is in this planet of productivity killers and have tons and tons and tons of lists, or you can learn what's behind it. We believe that productivity or productivity issues like these are essentially an issue of a disconnection. It's a disconnection of many issues. It's a disconnection between what you are doing and what you should be doing. It's a disconnection between instructions of what your supervisors say that you should be doing and what you really do believe you should be doing. It's even a disconnection between resources and what is needed. It's a disconnection between what the metrics say you are doing and what you are doing in reality. The bottom line is what we're going to teach you today is what is behind this and how you can actually change the narrative by thinking of your contribution, changing the influence or the perception of influence, and thus increasing the control so that, yes, you get the better tools to make sure that your contribution and your productivity increases. That's what we're talking about. For example, in the personal level, we have higher control because we can change and decide I'm not going to procrastinate, or I am going to make sure that I have bigger chunks of time to do things that require more focus. With the systems and the environmental factors, it's mid to low level, but those are the ones that we are going to focus a little bit more. Let's start on there. For systems, well, like we were saying, the first one is probably going to be focusing on the right thing at the right time, the right way. For example, I'm spending too much time filling out my timesheet. So what I do is I try to find out that my system or the way that I'm doing it is probably too cumbersome. I go out and find that another coworker is doing it quicker. How are they doing it? It's probably smarter. It's quicker. Is it still good? Is it valid? Then I save myself 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is. All those small increments of time, they matter. We had a good example in one of our customers' company. The AR supervisor scheduled a meeting, a weekly meeting that I believe they did it every Monday, and it was at 9 in the morning. This meeting dragged over an hour and a half. It was very important, but it dragged 5 people from 5 different departments. The issue was that was prime time for everybody else. it was causing a lot of turmoil. Nobody liked it, but nobody knew why it was so important and why they hated it so much. So what we did is we said, this meeting is important. Boom, we validated the task. And we said, your contribution is important. However, for the rest of the teams, their time is relevant too. How about what you need is you need everybody else's information so that you don't have to send this report and have this meeting. Could everybody else send you this information before the end of the day? And then you have a recollection meeting around 2 p.m. And then that 2 p.m. meeting is only to validate all the pinpoints of the rest of the departments. Instead of having an hour-and-a-half meeting, all you have is a 15 quick meeting only to go through the lines that nobody has answered. What ended up happening was we validated the task, we validated the contribution, and increased the correlation and established what that connection was between what the AR person needed, what the rest of the teams were requested, and of course we increased productivity because we did the right thing at the right time, and very, very important, the right way. How do we do this? What is key here when you have a systems productivity issue? Measure all the time. And to measure, you need to be objective, very objective. That's why I go back to validate the task. And sometimes we just might need a third party. We might need somebody else to do what I call an audit. An audit is just a third set of eyes that is going to come and say if what we think is true or not. Environmental. I think this is probably my least favorite, because some chaotic environments are a consequence of structure and culture. And remember when we were talking about the behaviors? Yes, these behaviors are rewarded by different ways, but especially because they're not being reprimanded. In other instances, it's a different thing. It's because the office, the way that the flow is, even the materials, they really are noisy or they're hard to flow. Think, for example, of public offices. How can you change that? That's hard in itself. Other times, the culture, even if the building is right, even if the culture or what they have on the walls and what they say is very positive, the culture in itself is toxic. And no matter how much effort you're going to put into increasing your contribution, into making it validated, into trying to connect with everybody else, your influence and your control, therefore, is going to be very, very, very little. In this case, unsafe places, hostile ones, they're going to be very tough to be influenced. My best suggestion in this case, cash out, my friend, and have an exit strategy fast, because your energy is going to best used in another venue. Now, the one where we have almost 100% of control, you guessed it, it's the personal one. And the key here is customized. No one is like another. So don't fall in the trap. And we gave those two examples. I think that a set of rules is going to apply just to me, just like it is for you. It's going to be like a mix and match that is going to be very specific to you and very specific to the time that you're going through right now. So it will change, absolutely. For example, kinesthetic people need to walk out through things when they're thinking about it, whereas audio people or auditory people, they need to hear things, but they're also have more senses, more capabilities to tolerate sounds. For example, visual people need a little bit of more color around them. If you put them in a completely white place, they're going to lose it. You can't do that. You can't isolate them. People who are better morning people, you can't put them to work in a nighttime shift, but you also shouldn't do meetings with them in the afternoon. Those kind of things. So here, what I'm saying is, you need to be able to identify who you are, and within these 5 items, what is the best way that you work, and then identify what does it look like for a perfect day. I think, in my mind, that whenever we see it in real life, it's easier if we can go one by one and then find out what does it look like. Do you want to see in the first studio? Let's look at the first one. So this first studio is going to be specific about improvements, and if we have systems, environmental, or personal. Here, I want you to focus on the setup and let me know what you see. What opportunities for improvement do you see here? Mike, if you can let me know what we're getting on chat. So, yes, cumbersome. It's a cumbersome setup. Yes. Cumbersome setups, they can add up. And for example, we talked about minimizing decision exhaustion. Yes, that is a thing. Minimizing muscle exhaustion is a thing too, which is what's happening when he's reaching out to get the cup of coffee, and I think he's drinking plant coffee. Yes, he shouldn't. Bad ergonomics, absolutely, absolutely. Crowded, it is. Having the book in front of him, yes.
Plant out of the way.
Yes, exactly. What about the color, right? Depending on if the person is a visual or not a visual person, the color could be a good or a bad suggestion.
Bigger screen, move coffee.
Perfect. You guys are on the money. Wonderful. Do you guys want to do another one? Let's do the second one. And before we start, I want to apologize, but learning sometimes has to be hard. Let's see this one and focused on the user. And you can start typing what suggestions for improvement you see here.
Lack of light.
Lack of light, beautiful. I love it. What else?
One-handed typing.
Yes, isn't it driving you guys crazy? Let me rest. Have my cup of coffee because my one-hand typing is killing me.
Can't type efficiently, needs upskilling.
Yes.
Needs to type.
You guys are brutal.
Type with both hands.
Yes.
Or lighting.
Yes. Now, let me tell you something. You know, what my friend probably needs is, he needs something wonderful if you're using Microsoft, the Microsoft packages, and I know I don't get any money from them, is something called Editor, and you can use it also as a recording source on Word and also on PowerPoint. You just put a good set of headphones that has a microphone, and you just start talking, and that beauty will record every single word. Boom. You don't have to be a good typist because some of us, hint, hint, are not very fast or very accurate. So you can get rid of it that way. But I don't want to be negative Nelly, and I want to present to you that sometimes we can have the opposite. This is for my people that love to be outside. They need a lot of sensory things happening, and they thrive in ambiances where there's a lot of things happening. Look at my friend that is on the computer on the side. He has a lot of windows, people coming in and out. He probably has his earbuds. This man is on a roll. He is working on something, and this is how he works best. So this is an option too. Don't throw it away just because it doesn't look like a natural or a regular office setting. These things also work, and I've seen a lot of people do fantastic. So I wanted to make sure that you know that that is an option too. Now, some of the famous people, I love it because all of these are tried and true, and you're going to find here stuff from Jeff Bezos, from the folks from Zappos, from Amazon, from Branson, a little bit from the folks from Spanx, from Shark Tank. Everybody is in here. My favorite by far, this one, Start. I have a huge sticky note that just says Start. And the reason why I say that is because if you start to get like, I don't want to do something, just looking at that really, really, really works. Stop using your calendar as a to-do list. Don't do that. That really gives you a lot of exhaustion. And if you really don't have enough gas to do something, focus on the next 5 minutes. Even for exercise, I'm not going to ask you to do 10 squats. Just say, I'm just going to do 5 squats. Do that. And I wanted to end this one with, think of this. However you want to be, sleep, eat, drink, and think exactly as you want to be. Just focus on that, and that will totally, totally get you well. So what did we learn about today? We learned a lot of things, didn't we? The first one, I love that we got to a place where we talked that productivity and business are completely different things, even if everybody thinks they are the same. And we were able to understand that systems, environmental, and personal elements can strengthen productivity, but they can also hinder it when they're not utilized appropriately. We also learned how powerful contribution, influence, and control as impactful elements can relate to productivity, and how when we leverage on contribution and influence, we can increase our control and make sure that boom, we are able to relate why we need that better software or why we need to have our offices updated. And of course, my favorite was applying those tactics to improve our productivity, including, yes, what the famous entrepreneurs say is the best of the best. I believe, like I was telling Scott before we started, one of the best things about doing these webinars is that we have the blessing, I'm going to say that, we have the blessing of reaching out with people like you, that you're out there making things happen. And like I said in the beginning, I'm not going to ask you to take all of this all at once and just go for it and design tons of lists. I'm going to make a promise. If I go ahead and just do 5 of these things, for 5 minutes, only 5. I hope you are going to join me in that same pledge and only do 5. Let's do that, and let's see what happens. In my mind, I think you and I are going to be much, much better. And I think it's valuable and it's important because I think you're amazing. And I think that the world needs the very, very best version of you we can have. So go ahead, just do 5 more. I'm not going to ask any much more of you. I love to see what happens. Connect with me later. And again, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Elsa. That was great. A lot of interaction on the chat with the poll and the studios you did at the end. Because we're about to go into a Q&A. We did get a couple questions right at the end. The slides and the recording will be available, and we'll be emailing that to you tomorrow.
Wonderful.
Yeah, we haven't had any questions come in. I think they're still typing also, so we'll just give them another minute or two.
Wonderful. Scott, do you want to take the screen, or do you want me to leave it?
You know what? Let's leave it. If they have a question and you want to refer back to another slide, you can just shift through your own PowerPoint. I think that's probably easiest.
Wonderful.
All right, perfect. Here's the first one in. How do you measure productivity? Sometimes it is not very obvious.
Yes, depends on what it is. You know, if it's personal productivity, that's why I talk about auditing. You know, having a third party to tell me if it's my personal productivity. I never do measure my personal productivity myself. I'm always going to say I'm stellar because my ego is the size of the city. So have a third party do it for you. If it's an office setting and I know it's a systems thing, you know, I can't do my job because so-and-so, the system is crappy or my office is crowded, then I need to go and do almost like a corrective action, like a root cause, and go back to the very, very, very bottom. And when you can find that, then you're able to measure yourself and see why it's happening. You are always able to measure anything. I find it very hard that we can't measure it. The difficult part is, what is the cause of it? That is really hard. So if you don't mind, connect with me on LinkedIn and let's talk about this one. I usually find that the challenge is finding out what the real issue is. But if we know, and if we get to the bottom of it, then I can probably help you find out how to measure it. Great question, by the way.
Yeah, no, excellent question. Here we go. Here's a couple more. How can we increase productivity at any place and at any time?
Let me think of that one. That's pretty open. Think of three things. What is the right thing to do here at this time? If you can answer that, that should take you to where you need to be.
Okay. How do you balance the need for connectivity and people's assumptions of immediate response, such as email, versus dedicated time for super valuable work?
Yeah, and that's another tricky question. Depends on who you're connecting with, right? Like if it's a supervisor or it's with a C-suite or anybody above, that is much more delicate. Let's call it that way, because it almost becomes how do you manage relationships, right? I am not ever going to tell anybody to tell your boss, help me decide which one I should do, this one or that one. That never falls well, ever. I have never seen it work well. I think that it's more of an issue of you finding out which projects can take priority, and then in better times, kind of expressing to your supervisors, I'm having a challenge with these projects that are just taking a lot of my time, and I don't think I have the resources to handle it. That's one way. When it's with peers, it's very simple. If you can check the body language, the body language webinar that we did, it has a ton of tips on how to tell people without telling them that you are busy. And those work like a charm. It's amazing because you won't even have to tell people, I'm busy, I can't talk to you. They will feel it and they will instinctively leave and let you go. Another great way is just, we have the system, the green, yellow, and red that I put on my door. My team knows that whenever I have the yellow, it means that if it's an emergency, come in, and it's, only if it's an emergency. And the red is, I laugh and they say, if the building is on fire or there's blood, you can come in. But I don't use it frequently. It's only for something extremely urgent because I also recognize that my team needs me. So again, it's managing. It's managing a lot, and but it usually works. Just be very careful how you handle it with supervisors and with C-suites.
All right, excellent. That's a great idea. I like the red, yellow, and green light concept. I don't see any more questions, Elsa. You can give them another minute. Not to put you on the spot too much. Any final thought or statement?
Sounds great. Again, we are always open to more of our connections on LinkedIn. And again, I know, Scott, that we have a couple of great projects coming down the pike. So what I really said about the membership, I really mean it. Make sure that you stay connected, because I doubt that you would be able to get all this value in any other way that wouldn't cost you an arm and a leg and probably half of your car payment. So stay connected with us and with the society. It's really, really going to be a lot of fun very soon.
All right. Yes. And thank you for that great plug, Elsa. And with that, I think we'll wrap up here. Thank you again for everyone attending today and all the great participation on the poll, the studios, the top 5 productivity killers. The next webinar from this series, the Build Your Career webinar series, is titled Emotional Intelligence, and that will be on August 24th at 11 a.m. Eastern. We have 2 more technical webinar topics coming up. We have one more next week, which is the final webinar we are putting on in the month of July. That will be on July 29th. If we have any fluent Spanish speakers on today's call, that day's webinar will be presented entirely in Spanish on intelligent systems. The other webinar in August will be on August 12th, covering lessons learned from industry, government, and academia collaboration in educating secure software developers. You'll be able to register for all these webinars using the link you'll receive in tomorrow's email with the slides and the recording. And since Elsa brought it up, we'll add a link to the archive of this webinar series. You'll be able to find the body language webinar she referred to that we did, I believe, earlier this year. Again, I want to thank everyone for attending, Elsa for sharing your great knowledge and insight with us today. Thank you again, and have a great rest of your day.